Leo pushed through the wall of thick, wet ferns. The jungle air clung to him, heavy with the scent of damp earth and rotting leaves. He shook his head, ears twitching at the constant, rhythmic hum of insects hidden in the canopy. Every step was a struggle against the tangled roots that clawed at his paws. He broke through the final layer of brush and found the riverbank. The water was a dark, slow-moving ribbon reflecting the filtered light from above. He stepped closer, head tilted, watching the way the surface rippled against the mud. Then, the silence shattered. A massive shape slid from the bank into the depths. The water erupted in a violent, thunderous splash that sent droplets spraying across the mud, coarse bark of a giant tree. He pressed himself into the shadows, eyes locked on the spot where the water still churned and bubbled. He did not move. The ripples in the river finally smoothed into a mirror. Leo risked a glance, then peeled himself away from the tree. The jungle was no longer a threat. It was a theater, high above, their long limbs catching branches with effortless precision. They chattered, a cacophony of sharp clicks and whistles that drew Leo's gaze upward. He watched them scramble, their hands snatching bright yellow bananas from the tangled leaves. The fruit peels rained down like confetti. Leo batted at one, his tail flicking with excitement. The tension in his shoulders vanished, replaced by the instinct to chase. Then, a flash of brilliant blue and gold cut through the green. A macaw spiraled down, its wings fanning the humid air before it landed on a low-hanging branch just feet from Leo. It tilted its head, squawked once, and let a single. He reached out a paw, his claws retracted, ready to catch the prize before it touched the mud. Leo's paw was inches from the feather when the world began to vibrate. It started as a low frequency, a hum that traveled up through the soil and into his bones. The feather he had been chasing trembled, vibrating against the wet earth. Leo froze, his paw suspended in the air. The chattering of the monkeys died out instantly. Even the insects seemed to hold their breath. The deep rumble grew louder. It was not the sound of wind or water. It was the sound of something massive displacing the world. Ahead, the dense wall of green bushes began to shudder. Leaves were crushed and stems snapped with audible cracks as a gray, towering mass pushed through the foliage. Leo backed away, his belly low to the ground. As the brush parted entirely, a massive elephant stepped into the clearing, its size dwarfing the trees around it. It stood like a mountain of solid muscle and thick skin, blocking the path entirely. The air grew still, charged with the weight of the creature's presence. Leo did not blink. He watched, pinned by the sheer scale of the visitor. As the ground settled under the weight of the giant, the elephant stood motionless for a heartbeat, its trunk coiled like a thick, powerful cable. Then, it arched its neck and showered its own back. The liquid cascaded over its gray skin, darkening the surface and dripping into the thirsty soil. Leo watched the droplets catch the filtered sunlight, turning into shimmering beads before they vanished into the dust. The sound of the splash was immense, echoing through the clearing like a sudden downpour. The elephant shook its massive head, ears flapping with a rhythmic, thunderous sound that stirred the leaves on the ground. It ignored the cub entirely, focused only on the cooling relief of the river water. After a final, deep exhale, the creature shifted its immense weight. It turned away from the riverbank, each footfall creating a soft, thudding impact that Leo felt in his own chest. It began to march toward the swaying stalks of the tall grass. Leo remained rooted to his spot, eyes wide, tracking the giant until the last flick of its tail disappeared into the golden blades. The jungle seemed to grow larger and more mysterious in the wake of such raw, untamed power. The golden light of the afternoon began to bleed away, replaced by the deepening hues of a violet dusk. The tall grass where the elephant had vanished now swayed in a cooling breeze. Leo turned his gaze away from the path and began to trot through the thickening shadows. He moved with purpose, his paws silent against the damp floor of the jungle. He found the familiar patch of soft, velvet moss nestled against a cluster of ancient roots. There, his mother lay waiting. Leo pressed his side against her warmth, feeling the steady rhythm of her breathing. She shifted, nudging him gently with her nose. guiding him into the hollow of her flank. Above them, the canopy darkened as the sky turned to deep purple. The chaotic chatter of the day faded, replaced by the rhythmic, high-pitched chirp of night insects beginning their chorus. The jungle floor cooled, but the space between the two lions remained a pocket of heat and stillness. Leo let his eyelids grow heavy, the tension of the day dissolving into the quiet safety of his mother's presence. He curled into a tight ball, his breathing matching hers, and surrendered to the deep, protective silence of the jungle heart.